All right. Thank you all for being here, and thank you to my panelists here. As Jay said, we are going to have a conversation about the future of commerce media, how those two things are increasingly intersecting. We know that commerce media isn't confined to retail aisles or shopping apps anymore. It's showing up in channels long before anyone thinks I'm shopping, right? Shopping is not something you do anymore. It is totally embedded into your everyday life. These environments are becoming premium intent spaces because they capture context. What are people doing? Where are they going? And what are they likely to do next? And so I'm excited to welcome some of our new publishers to the Mastercard commerce media ecosystem, each who has their own massive reach, rich context, and signals that complement our own. So I am now going to have each of our panelists introduce themselves, and then we'll get into the conversation. Lauren, let's start with you.
Hi, I'm Lauren Baca. I'm the Global VP of Marketing at Xsolla. For those of you who don't know, Xsolla is a 20-year-old company. We've really built our reputation on being the infrastructure that connects gamers with developers through commerce. Over the last couple years, we've really kind of shifted toward advertising because we saw a need for brands. So I'm excited to dive into that with you guys today.
Awesome. Leo?
Great. Hi, I'm Leo O'Connor, EVP of Digital and Streaming at Paramount Advertising. I look after the ads business for Paramount Plus and Pluto TV.
How's everybody doing? I'm Ashan Khan. I lead our agency partnerships team for Uber Advertising.
Okay. Rob?
Hi, everyone. Rob Wilk, Chief Revenue Officer at a small startup called Yahoo.
All right. We are so happy to have you all here on stage. So we're going to start with an all-play sorts of question to help set the scene for the discussion. So for years, I think we all know advertising was about impressions and capturing attention, but today it's about recognizing intent. So from your vantage point, what's changed in terms of how people move through the world, right? What's changing about consumers that's making commerce media so compelling? And I'm going to randomly call on one of you right now. I'm going with Rob. Rob, let's start the conversation.
I knew you were going to do that. I could just see by the way you were looking at me. Look, I think one of the biggest differences that we see at Yahoo, we're very fortunate because we see people all the way through their journey. If you think about a few years ago, people, when they shopped, they would have the mindset of, I am going to go online and I am going to go buy this product. It's a very linear direction and it's very deliberate. And what we see now is people go in and out. They go screen to screen. They sometimes have multiple screens at the same time. One of the things we noticed about sports, Yahoo Sports is one of our biggest properties, is how many people watch sports. Eyes on the screen, phone in hand, go back and forth, watch clips that just happened, etc. So the way that we think about commerce now is you have to understand consumer behavior from the very beginning before they even think about it, and certainly all the way through until, when they actually decide to make that purchase. So we collect a significant amount of understanding and signal from consumers, whether it is search behavior, whether it's actually in their email, which I'm sure we'll get into, but we can see people that were exposed to messages and then a receipt shows up in their email and their Yahoo Mail, a week later. And then of course the content that they consume. So you have to know this and understand that you can't just hit them at the moment when they decide to buy. There's so many other moments that you're going to influence that decision, and it's a wild journey all the way through.
Yeah, absolutely. Ashan, I'm coming to you. What's changing about consumer behavior that you see at Uber?
Yeah, sure. I would actually echo some of what Rob said in terms of the decision-making process is not linear. And so, there's been a lot of great work in terms of what moves the needle. And I think for a bit, it was around attention, and attention is great. But I think attention shows availability. And so understanding intention and in the moment behavior kind of helps drive actions. So I think, that's where we're really leaning into is helping to examine, understand, help clients understand what's happening during a moment and then helping them bring a bit of contextual relevance to drive an action.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right, Leo.
All right, down the line. So I think we've seen as streaming has become the primary way that most U.S. households are consuming content. That the moment that this long form content has always created culture, but we think the distance between that inspiration and people going to act on that has really compressed. And you could see something on TV and buy it on your phone immediately thereafter. And I think what we've seen is just with the feedback loop that you get from streaming and the targetability of all of that, I think it unlocks an incredible amount of possibility for us.
Lauren.
So what's really unique about the gaming channel is it's a very intentional channel. People are going in, they're leaning in. It's a form of entertainment for them, right? So there's not a lot of distraction when you're watching a TV ad and you're on your mobile device, as you spoke about. They're actively choosing these games because it means something to them, right? We at Xsolla connect with about 300 million gamers. That's the size of the US population, right? And these players and the industry itself is worth 200 billion, which is more than music and film combined. And these people are spending like $80 billion of their money to enhance their experience in games. Wow. That's why it is so important to them. And we always have this notion that who a gamer is and this misconception, but I guarantee you pretty much every one of you in this room has a game on their device, whether it's yours or your children's, right? And so this has really become a very effective channel where people want to enhance that, and we see that an opportunity through media to really kind of bring that out for them.
Yeah, there's a lot going on here,
Yep.
right? In terms of consumer behavior shifts,
Yep.
they're multi-touch, right? And then signals, the flattening of the funnel, Leo, like you're highlighting. And then the question just becomes, how do you know when the consumer is ready to act, right? What's that signal? As commerce media expands beyond retail, the definition of an intent moment is changing. Right? And so does the value that gets created. So, Rob, for you, sorry, I'm coming to you twice in a row. I won't do that next time.
How dare you?
So consumers don't live in a single channel anymore, right? Like, what does fragmentation actually mean for how brands should be thinking about capturing the intent across the day, across the consumer's, everyday life?
Yeah, it's funny. If you go back just a few years, advertisers and agencies were structured by channel. And if you think about that now, people are waking up to go, no, it doesn't fit the consumer mindset. We should be structured literally the way that consumers think. And that's why if you think about what Yahoo focuses on, it's all these moments throughout their day, right? We're not in the business of like long feeds that people can just scroll through. We're in the business of providing real value to people in the moments that they need it. And that can be someone's checking a stock price on Yahoo Finance. That can be somebody who's checking a sports score or what happened on the NBA draft. It's Marsha, big NBA fan in the front over there. A sports score or checking their email or whatever. So if consumers don't live in channels, then marketers and agencies shouldn't be thinking of like how you reach them within those channels. You should be thinking about the consumer mindset and how do you capture that. The last thing I would say is, if you look over the years, the advances in measurement and how we understand whether something worked or not has gotten so much better. Yep. So as marketers, and quite honestly, as publishers, we don't have any excuse anymore to either say, I don't know if this worked, or I have an opinion, or I have a vague idea. Nobody's in that business anymore. You're gonna see that, throughout all the conversations here, but even elsewhere, is how do we get even more absolute about understanding? And that's why we get excited about some of the data that we uniquely have. I know Mastercard has a ton of unique data, especially around things like, can we close the loop? Can we really measure this stuff? There's no excuses anymore. It's all there. We just have to execute it.
I totally agree. I'll add, just from the Mastercard perspective, we have 175 billion transactions that crossed our network in 2025, right? That is a very powerful data set that we use to be able to stitch together what's happening for consumers, but also prove those outcomes. And I think where you were going was, this idea that like outcomes actually drive the signal, and then the signal, a confident signal creates a better outcome, right? Which delivers a better value.
Not to steal the whole thing here, but just one thing that when I was preparing for this that I thought was so interesting is our performance business at Yahoo is doing great. It's the majority of our revenue, but the faster growing part is advertisers and brands are coming to us asking us for things that we would call upper funnel more often now than before. And why is that? Because they understand that if I spend all my time right at the bottom, I can't fill up the top. So it's just an interesting part for us is like things like brand integration, sponsorships, branded content is actually growing super fast here. And I think that's a signal that brands are like, we've been spending too much time at the bottom and we've got to start refilling the top.
Yeah, makes sense. Leo, I want to come to you with a question which actually builds on conversations we've had about the consumer experience. What are consumers doing when they're shopping? How do you make sure that you have this native and seamless experience? Audiences in streaming are deeply engaged, but they're not necessarily in a shopping mindset. And so what signals indicate readiness for commerce in those moments?
Yeah, I mean, I would echo what Robert said. I think you have to really, you can't win these people over one impression at a time. And I think these brands are built in moments of huge collective attention. And so you have to think about how to train someone to even think about shopping while they're being entertained and make sure it's not interruptive. So you have to find the right format to do it. But also, I think we've seen just through some of the experimentation we've done, we've seen that shows that have a regular schedule, things that are, you can kind of remind them again. You have to really train the consumer to think about doing this. And I think we've seen some of the daily format shows that we have do really well. And there are some things that I think are just not great for this. And so we've left them to the side. But yeah, I think it's really kind of understanding and matching up the right content environment with that user experience.
Yeah, right. Contextual signal, right, as well as the other signals that you're getting, right, and to protect that consumer experience. Okay, Lauren, from a gaming standpoint, so we know gaming environments are immersive, they're highly intentional. What distinguishes a high-value commerce moment from one that breaks the experience?
I would say it's choice, right? These consumers are actively seeking entertainment, right? And so you don't want, and they're very savvy, right? They don't want an ad in their face, a banner, a video that they just know that they have to engage with as a part of the game to make it free, right? If you are, like, as I mentioned before, people are spending $80 billion in games, right? If you give them something that you know is valuable to them, and they have a choice to opt into it, so rather than spend money on in-app purchases or virtual currency, they see, okay, there's a collection of different offers that I know is relevant to me, so they understand my behavior and my desires as well. I can opt into that, and then I get rewarded. Right? And so this experience that we're creating with the consumer, we're actually bringing them in. They become a participant, right? It's no longer forced in their face. They're choosing to engage, and then they get rewarded, and it continues their experience, right? So that trust that they develop with the brand continues long afterwards. So it's more of just this like one-to-one transactions. You're really kind of inviting them in to experience something that is very relevant to them.
Makes sense. Personal and incented and consented from the consumer.
Exactly, yep.
Ashan, mobility creates real-world context in motion. What are the intent signals that emerge when people are on the move? And why are those moments so valuable for brands?
Yeah, of course. And quite honestly, like everything that everyone has touched on sort of hits the nail on the head when you think about real world behavior, what is the context, and then what is the sort of value from brand to consumer. You know, Rob spoke about like understanding the consumer journey, decision making is not linear. Leo spoke about having that context. And then Lauren just touched on like, hey, what is the offer and the right thing for the consumer? And so us understanding real world behaviors, when people are in a ride, taking a trip, how do we actually make that available and deliver something of value? So one of the things that you see on the Uber Eats platform, which is commonplace, are offers. Hey, offer for pizza, drink, whatever the case is. One of the things that we've been doing on the what we call the rider side and the mobility side is actually stitching some of this stuff together. So I know you're going to wherever you're going to. There's a store that's a half a block away. do you want to change your destination? Here's an offer from a brand to go in, get a product, have an experience, whatever the case is. So that real world behavior helps make a difference for how you actually have an intent signal of value that drives a consumer action.
That's great. Okay, I want to shift gears now, and I'm going to talk about my favorite question of the day, which is all about trust. Mastercard is synonymous with trust. We weave it into everything we do in terms of our network, how we protect transactions, and then how we carry that forward in our services. So I really want to get this group's take around that. And so anyone can answer this question, okay? What principles guide how you introduce commercial moments in a way that feels useful, respectful, and also privacy first?
I'm happy to, Lauren.
No, you go ahead.
Yeah, I'm happy to start. I mean, I think it certainly, like, privacy first, useful, you're kind of hitting on all of the right things, right? The thing is about how is it not disruptive? How does it complement the experience? And how do you also understand consumer behavior within your respective product, right? Someone is booking a ride, trying to get somewhere. The last thing we need to do is disrupt them with an ad in their face. And so we've designed some of that naturally into the product, understanding the consumer behavior, what is the UX, and then again, when you think about something like a mobility offer in the Rider app, like how do we actually introduce something, use that signal, and push something of value so it's not disruptive, but actually more helpful.
Yeah, I would echo that. I think a huge thing you have to think about is relevance, like add relevance to the user. Of course, privacy, you have to abide by law and get consent, all of those things. But I think if you're delivering people relevant advertising and you're measuring that relevance and you're giving them the chance to tell you if the ad was relevant by a thumbs up or a thumbs down or a heart emoji, whatever it is, you can really, that's how I think you build trust with people, if you let them tell you if they like it or not.
Yeah, and to build on that, the three things that come to mind is relevancy, choice, and participation. So what Lee was saying, right, the insights that we know from their behaviors, their purchase behaviors, the stuff that they hold dear to them, right? And then they are actually looking at the ads in front of them and saying, I choose this one I want to engage with, and I know that they're going to reward me and they're going to enhance my experience. So now I'm leaning in and I'm participating, right? So you're creating more of that and no longer more of that transactional experience where it continues on, right? Because they know that the brand that they engage with continued their experience in the games that they love. So that just continues on even more.
Yeah, I feel like I'm hearing the common theme of when it's intuitive, when it's useful to the consumer, when it's native, that's when you actually deliver the trust.
I'll just add, it's also when the experience is as expected. So if you think about where a lot of the dollars go in digital these days, one of the biggest categories, hopefully you all know this, is search, right? And in the early days of search, people said you can't put ads there because it's going to erode consumer trust. I was there for those early days, and I was like, no, that's not true. What will erode trust is when they have an experience that they don't expect. So if you search for a credit card and you get an ad for a sneaker, that is a bad experience that they don't expect. But if consumers have proven that they don't mind an ad if it provides utility and if it has relevance and it is as expected. So for us, 30 years, Yahoo's been around. We don't survive without giving people experiences that they expect, including running personal email for hundreds of millions of people around the world. That is a very private, important place. It is very important that they have experiences that they expect, and that is what builds belief and trust over time.
Yeah, I think there's also another dimension here, which is consistency, right? I mean, again, consumers may be interacting with the same brand across all of your channels. So is it showing up as expected? Is it useful? And is it consistent, right? All of that actually helps deliver that relationship. All right, I want to move on to another dimension of embedded commerce, which was all around intuitive experiences. So Rob, across so many touch points, how do you ensure that commerce integrations feel like a natural extension of what someone is already doing?
Yeah, I sort of feel like the last question, I stole my own thunder on that one.
That's okay.
Because again, I just think it's like people come to, and I'll use Paramount as an example. They come to Paramount with a very set expectation of what their experience is going to be like. Do I think Landman's the best show of the last year? I absolutely do.
Yes. Woo.
So there's a different expectation when they're gaming. There's a great expectation. I am an Uber lover, and I believe in the idea of like, hey, where you go, that's the best indicator of who you actually are. So if you just look at all these different expectations, for us, we have different scenarios. We have a search engine. So sometimes someone will literally say, I would like to buy a new shirt today, whatever. We're going to show them a commerce ad because they expect that to happen. They might be reading a story on the Emmys about fashion and what people are wearing. So we're certainly going to show them, hey, if you like this shirt, here's one that's very similar. And by the way, it's sponsored. And again, they're fine with that. It's sort of, I always call it like altitude adjusting relative to where we believe that they are and what we think that they would expect in that moment. You are allowed to give a consumer a hard sell when they give you permission and they go, I'm ready for the hard sell, tell me what to buy.
Yes.
We're fine with that. And sometimes they want to be more pushed back, so we just know how to do that altitude adjustment.
Yeah, I heard somebody say on a panel earlier today that CMOs are no longer just, they don't want to just be storytellers, they want to be story sellers. I thought that was a great line.
Yes.
We have a division within our company on our sales team, and they're called the story sellers for that exact reason.
Yeah. Lauren, I want to come to you now. So gaming is an environment where users are choosing their own adventure.
Yes.
What does that tell us about how advertising should evolve more broadly?
It's really about meeting them where they are in that experience, right? So there's different ways for you to engage with them. They're going to go to a store to get their currency or their items, and they can see, oh, I can now pay with my time, right? This idea of currency as an engagement. So rather than spend my hard money, I can engage with these offers and I get the same kind of reward. Or they see they're in game and they get energy from Gatorade, right? It feels very authentic and natural to their experience. Or, they're running out of lives and they see something. You need currency. It's right there. So it's like where they are within their journey, you're giving them something of value. They know that they're going to get rewarded and they get to choose what they want to engage with.
All right, let's move on to another favorite topic, which is around reach and measurement in emerging channels. Advertisers, of course, they want scale, but they also need to understand who they're reaching, why it matters, and whether it actually drives real outcomes. I think we touched a little bit on this earlier. Leo, I want to come to you. Streaming has traditionally been about reach and storytelling. What's changed that's pushing it closer to commerce?
Yeah, I mean, I think the conventional wisdom on TV forever has been that it's for top of the funnel, and I think it certainly is good at that. I think the thing that's changed is that we as an industry have not done a great job measuring its ability to affect the full funnel. And I think that's where we see a huge opportunity in partnering with folks like Mastercard and doing just that, to prove that you can not just drive reach, you can also, it's an and, you can also move people down the funnel, and just given the state of how quickly people can convert with their phone or whatever it may be, to be able to measure that in real time is super powerful.
And Ashan, if brands want to win in moment-based environments, what's the biggest mindset shift that they need to make?
Yeah, sure. I think we've been seeing some of it in terms of how they think about consumers and audiences. And so going from planning around demographics to then planning around consumer cohorts and broader segments. I think that the other piece that we've been speaking about, when we think about consumer journey, context, is a bit of a shift into like moments, sort of marketing and audiences within a moment. And then how do you understand that? How do you use that? So I think that's part of the shift. The sort of watch out is not trying to get too sort of micro and kind of limit your ability to still have reach and relevance, et cetera. Robert, to go back to what you were speaking about before, I think the other thing is like understanding consumer in the moment and then being kind of flexible and adaptable. So if a consumer is there to search for a shirt, like boom, have that available for them as a response. So it's kind of a combination of things. I think it's understanding the moments, having an adaptable and sort of flexible platform, if you will, if you think about what our sort of companies offer to brands, and then using the solutions to kind of serve them within that moment with what's right. Is it the response to go and convert and buy the shirt, or is it something that's a little bit more like content and discovery based?
Yeah, we talk about that a lot, like that flexibility from a slightly different angle, but the flexibility between a pure digital ad driving brand awareness or an incentivized ad, right? But this notion of be flexible, meet the consumer where they are. I feel like I'm hearing that, and of course, Leo, the mention on the outcomes, right? How do you actually drive that? Because then you can actually prove that the channel is a channel that drives measurable results.
100%, yeah.
I'll just add really quick, sorry to interrupt, is
Please.
part of the reason why people have a better understanding of streaming and television in general is because of the evolution of how you measure it. So we are unique in that we have some of the world's largest properties, but we also have one of the largest independent DSPs. Does anybody want to guess what the fastest channel within our DSP is? It's CTV. Why? Sight, sound, and motion, the obvious stuff, but also we have the ability to measure better than we ever could before. So you can take audiences that we know everything about on Yahoo and then find those same people through Paramount, through CTV, and target them. And now you have the ability to actually go even further and do closed loop. We don't want to force all CTV to be direct ROI only, but the point is, just think about how far we've come in understanding audiences and measurement, so people now can ascribe the right value to the channel that it's driving, where arguably some of those channels might have been undervalued for their ability to drive commerce. And now you see there's so many different ways to prove that out. And it's literally like, it is one of the number one reasons why brands come to the Yahoo DSP is to say, help me to understand audiences in the context of streaming.
Yeah, I've been on panels with some of your buddies over there, and right, it's that deterministic signal, right? That's so powerful that is helping brands understand new channels, right? Where they can reach consumers they might not have even contemplated before, or to your point, undervalue those. So commerce media doesn't have a single center of gravity anymore. The channels represent environments where people are actually spending their time and where the intent is really forming long before the checkout takes place. This is really a question for all of you. In a world where the opportunity for commerce can show up anywhere, we almost answered this question already, but I want you guys to come up with maybe even some more examples. How do we decide where it should show up? Right? So if it can show up anywhere, where should it show up?
Get in there.
Tough question.
I mean, I think you touched on this earlier. If it doesn't feel natural, it probably isn't. Like, don't force fit, understand the consumer behavior, try and as best as you can to understand their decision-making process and their need. And if you can offer something that helps them convert from a commerce standpoint, then fantastic. So it's just like, don't force it if it doesn't feel natural and it doesn't feel kind of native to the experience, to the consumer behavior within your sort of respective service.
Yeah, I think that's right, and I think you can kind of, we've learned our way there by what doesn't work. I think, which is often the case with these things, and I think giving people the ability, if you're lean back and you're watching a show like Landman, you maybe don't want to be interrupted, but if you can give people the ability to save something seamlessly, or add a coupon to their wallet, or send an offer to their email, or pin it to be late. I mean, that's one of the genius features on Instagram that I use frequently. I see something and save it, and it's super powerful. And I think the ability to bookmark things and save them for when I am in that shopping mindset, I think is the right way to get there.
Yeah, and it goes back to relevancy and choice again, right? Is that if someone is immersed in an experience and they want to continue on and they see something that says, engage for free coins, and it's something that's very relevant to them, then they're leaning in and then they continue that delightful experience. Or they just made a purchase and then they get a coupon for something very relevant. Or, okay, they really know kind of who I am and the things that I like, and I keep getting these offers that are relevant to me and I get to engage them when I choose to. You're really giving the power back to the consumer, and they're participating. It's no longer forced. They feel like it's a part, they play a part in it. And so it's no longer feels like advertising. It feels like you're just really becoming a part of their experience, no matter what channel that they're in.
Right. So intuitive and native. It's interesting. I was in a brunch yesterday with a bunch of CMOs, and of course the topic of agentic came up. I know we're not actively discussing that now, but the discussion was, should that just be an organic channel? Should it be a paid channel? And, there was some dimension of the business model kind of driving, the direction that takes. And some of our takeaways were, just around, be ready, right? Like, when it's organic, yes, you want to show, you need to, right? You need to kind of have your products be discoverable in those environments. There could also be opportunities, right, to show up from a paid standpoint. Again, in a way that's intelligent and tied to what the consumer is, interacting with. But we need to kind of be ready for when these environments shift, right? When they turn from just, moments of discovery into moments to engage, right, from more of a media standpoint. So just thought that was interesting to share, relevant. Okay, I have one. Hold on here. A fun question before we close. So we're at Cannes, right? What day are we at Cannes? I don't know.
17.
14, whatever.
One long day.
quick rapid fire. Like, what's something you didn't see? What's something you didn't expect to see this week that you experienced?
Somebody in the front row with a crown on.
Yeah.
I did not expect to see.
Oh, there we go.
Good one.
Ooh, I'm not.
I got to think on that one. Sorry.
What about you? What's something?
Anything surprising?
Nili, what did you see that was?
Or not surprising? You saw your friends that you know for 20 years?
Well, I went to Sports Beach, which was the first time, and it's really cool to see kind of the conversions of sports characters with media, and like really kind of it seeing all blend together. I thought that was really cool. It felt like a really like leaned in moment there.
All right. No, I saw the Hotel de Cap twice. I was really excited about that. That's like the most beautiful view I've ever seen in my life. All right. So with that, I think we are going to close. Thank you, right? I think, the winning strategies are all about ecosystems that connect intent and trust and outcomes wherever people are spending time, meeting those consumers in those high intent moments. Those strategies depend on partnerships that can connect the dots to create signal, scale, and outcomes. So thank you so much. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here with us today.
Thank you.